Okay, kids, we'll be going with this doubt. So you can look into the question. A small steel ball A is suspended by inextensible thread of length 1.5 meter. This was from resonance package. Another identical ball is thrown vertically downward such that its surface remains just in contact with the thread during the downward motion. That is given to identify the geometry and collides elastically with the suspended ball. If the suspended ball just completes the vertical circular motion, calculate the velocity of the falling ball just before collision. So this is what is happening before collision. This is how it looks just before collision. This guy is coming like this, and just before collision the geometry is going to look like this, and this length is r, this length is 2r. So you can get this angle as 60 and this angle as 30. Now his velocity just before collision is u. Now just after collision, what will happen is this guy can't move in this direction. So what I do, I'll take this as my x-axis, this as my y-axis, and I can say this guy's velocity won't be in this direction, his velocity will be only in this direction, and they said it will be just able to perform vertical circular motion, that is root 5 gl velocity you will be knowing, so root 75. This guy's velocity will be root 75. Now this guy, I don't know in which direction he will move because normal will be acting on him in this direction. So I am just assuming like he will be having some x component, y component, because any velocity can be resolved as x component and y component. Now I took this entire thing as my system. If I take this entire thing as my system, this tension is going to be vertical force and weight is going to be vertical force, and anyway weight is not impulsive force kind of thing. So I can see like if I take this as my system, there is no net horizontal force on my system. This normal will be internal force. So I can conserve momentum on my system in the horizontal direction. So if this guy's velocity is root 75, this guy's velocity also will be root 75. I got this root 75 using conservation of momentum for this entire system along horizontal direction. Now they said it is elastic collision. So I need to apply E equals to 1. So what I am doing is I am taking the same figure. Now I am taking this as my x-axis and this as my y-axis. I will be resolving the velocities. This is root 75. I will be resolving it. I will be resolving this velocity also along the line joining and perpendicular to it. When I resolve the velocities, it will turn out to be this way. Now velocity of approach equals to velocity of suppression. Velocity of approach, u is the velocity, and velocity of approach, that is velocity along the line, is u cos 30, which is root 3 u by 2. That is velocity of approach. Now velocity of suppression. Velocity of suppression is this plus this. So velocity of suppression is this plus this, which will turn out to be this thing. So velocity of approach equals to velocity of suppression. When I write that equation, velocity of approach equals to velocity of suppression, I will be getting one relation. But I need to get one more relation because there are two unknowns. So I need to get one more relation. That relation, what I am doing is, I am looking at this as my system, only this guy as my system. If I look at only this guy as my system, there will be weight is non-impulsive force. Now there will be normal on this guy in this direction. So what I can do, I can conserve momentum along this direction. So what is the momentum along that direction initially? Momentum along this direction is, this is u cos 30, u sin 30. Mu sin 30 is the momentum along that direction. Initially. Now finally momentum is m 15 by 2 minus y by 2. Initial momentum equals to final momentum. So I will be getting one more equation. I will be solving these two equations and I will be getting u as 12.5. So what are the stuff we have done? Initially I have taken this as my system and I concluded this velocity is root 75. Thereafter I have taken this thing as my system and I have conserved momentum along this direction, right? Initially I have taken this entire thing as my system and I conserve momentum along horizontal direction. Thereafter I have taken this thing alone as my system and I conserve momentum along this direction. Now the regular algorithm of solving it will be, this is how the initial figure looks. Velocity of approach is root 3 u by 2, just we mentioned like before. Now how many forces will be acting on this guy? There will be normal, there will be weight. See, weight is non-impulsive, so I am not going to put it in the figure. So normal, here there will be normal on this guy in this direction and there will be tension. So what we will be doing, we will be resolving them into components. So this normal will be having one component. So this normal's impulse, I am calling it as capital J. Capital J will have some vertical component, some horizontal component. Now this tension is already in good direction. So this normal also impulse will be resolving it into horizontal component and vertical component. Now impulse due to normal, I am calling it as capital J. Impulse due to tension, I am calling it as small j. So impulse due to tension is this thing, impulse due to normals component. Now this is the velocity after collision I have assumed, right? Now for this guy we will write impulse equals to change in momentum along x-axis, along y-axis. For this guy also we will write impulse equals to change in momentum along x-axis, along y-axis. Now if you look at this equation, I have written impulse equals to change in momentum for this guy along x-axis. J by 2 equals to change in momentum along x-axis. J by 2 equals to change in momentum along x-axis. Similarly, net impulse along this direction equals change in momentum along this direction, that is 0. So those two impulses must be same in magnitude. So this is along x-axis, this is along y-axis for this guy. From there I will be getting capital J value. If I get capital J value, I get small j value also. Now I will be going for this guy. I will write impulse equals to change in momentum along x-axis for this guy, impulse equals to change in momentum along this vertical direction for this guy. This is along x-axis because his velocity was vertical, right, initially. So impulse equals to change in momentum along x-axis, along y-axis impulse equals to change in momentum. So 4 equations I will be writing. From here, capital J value I got, small j value I got. Now if I substitute capital J value, I will be getting x value. X value we got in the previous method by momentum conservation, which is equivalent to this. So once I get x value, then I have done some other thing, I got one more equation. Now I need to solve this equation. But there are two unknowns. So we need to write one more equation. That one more equation is E equals to 1. Velocity of approach equals to velocity of suppression, which is same as our previous thing. Now I will be solving this equation and this equation, and we will be ending up with the same result, right? Thank you.